Welcome to Mornings with Patricia. Happy Wednesday. Ah, boy. So today I want to talk about being the lake. And you'll understand what I mean by that in a minute. I'm going to read you an old Hindu parable, teaching, and then we'll talk about it, okay? So it says, an aging master grew tired of his apprentice complaining, and so one morning sent him for some salt. When the apprentice returned, the master instructed the unhappy young man to put a handful of salt in a glass of water and then to drink it. "How does it taste?" the master asked. "Bitter," spit the apprentice. The master chuckled and then asked the young man to take the same handful of salt and put it in the lake. The two walked in silence to the nearby lake, and once the apprentice swirled his handful of salt in the water, the old man said, "Now drink from the lake." As the water dripped down the young man's chin, the master asked, "How does it taste?" "Fresh," remarked the apprentice. "Do you taste the salt?" asked the master. "No," said the young man. At this the master sat beside the serious young man who so reminded him of himself, and took his hands, offering, "The pain of life is pure salt, no more, no less. The amount of pain in life remains the same, exactly the same, but the amount of bitterness we taste depends on the container we put the pain in. So when you are in pain, the only thing you can do is to enlarge your sense of things. Stop being a glass, become a lake." So I love this teaching. One of the reasons why I love Hinduism is they have such beautiful parables and such beautiful teachings. So I there's no way to argue, I don't think, that there's pain that we experience here. Uh, you know, um, but it does depend on what container we put it in. So when you put it in a lake, yeah, it's still there, but you could become the observer more than the experiencer. And is it helpful to experience pain? Well, that's an interesting question. I mean, I think that every experience informs us. And when we judge the experience, we put it in a certain container. And we say, this is a good one, this is not a good one. And then we have all these raw emotions around it, all these things that cause us even more pain because of our thoughts. And and we keep struggling against that. We hit a brick wall over and over and over in trying to release ourselves from our own bitterness and from our pain. There's a I there's another one I want to read you too that goes along with this. And so let me read that and then we'll talk a little bit more about it. A Hindu saint who was visiting the river Ganges to bathe found a group of family members on banks, shouting in anger at each other. He turned to his disciples, smiled, and asked, "Why do people shout in anger at each other?" The disciples thought for a while. One of them said, "Because we lose our calm, we shout." "But why should you shout when the other person is right next to you?" asked the saint. "You can as well tell him what you have to say in a soft manner." The disciples gave some other answers, but none satisfied the saint. Finally, the saint explained, "When two people are angry at each other, their hearts distance a lot. To cover this distance, they must shout to be able to hear each other. The angrier they are, the stronger they will have to shout to hear each other, to cover that great distance. What happens when two people fall in love? They don't shout at each other, but talk softly, because their hearts are very close. The distance between them is either non-existent or very small." The saint continued, "When they love each other even more, what happens? They do not speak, only whisper. Then they even get closer to each other in their love. Finally, they even need not whisper. They only look at each other, and that's all. That is how close two people are when they love each other." He looked at his disciples and said, "So when you argue, do not let your hearts get distant. Do not say words that distance each other more, or else there will come a day when the distance is so great that you will not find the path to return." And I think we could take this and the lake teaching to a larger extent because, maybe on your Wednesday, maybe you're struggling with something, right? Maybe you're disappointed or you're upset or angry. I hope that's not the case, but if it is, you're having a totally human experience. Or maybe we can say even larger, the unrest that's happening in the world right now, and even in our own country, all the anger that's coming up for people around the elections. We are shouting and we're getting great and great distances away from each other. And we're bitter because we're drinking from glasses, not, at the lake with one another. So when you are able just to take a breath and realize that who we are in our true essence is only love and light. Only love and light. That's who we are. That's who we've always been and who we always will be. Everything else may fall like shadows, right? That cover our true nature. But when we remember, when we get close to one another, when we become one, when we're looking at each other. If you've ever, I don't know, sometimes when I do healing or teach classes, I end with namaste, and it's a profound, profound experience. You look into each other's eyes. Namaste. And you feel that connection. You feel that love. You feel as one heart. And it doesn't matter what you're experiencing or with whom you're experiencing it. There is only one true existence, and that's love. And the only reason why we hold on to anger or bitterness is a sort of self-righteousness. We want to be right. We don't want, I can't remember what that old saying is. You can be right or you can be, at peace, something like that. And when we're in the throes of those things, we don't want to be at peace. We want to be right. And, but where does that take us? That gives us glass after glass of bitterness. So the words we speak about our country, about other people, about ourselves, right, determines whether we are at the lake drinking or drinking from a bitter glass. We really do have a choice. And it starts with the thoughts we think and the words we speak. And I say this over and over and over because, it's so important. It's so important to keep our verbiage and our thoughts on a higher vibration. It doesn't matter what's happening around us, right? At the end of the day, whoever gets elected is who gets elected. At the end of the day, whether it's fair or unfair, whatever's happening in your life, it's happened. It's not about those things, it's what we do with them. It's about how we act, not react, how we act. We don't even have to react. It's how we act in our day-to-day life. Are we remaining in our hearts? Are we dropping from our head into our hearts? Do we refuse to get embroiled in that sort of mass consciousness of angst and anxiety and anger? And that's in the morphic field. And that becomes very strong, and it trickles down, and it affects everyone. You may some days think, oh God, I just feel so off kilter, and I don't know why. Or I feel like crying, and I don't know why. That's because this is all in the ether. It's all in the morphic field. And so much stuff of negativity is being put out there. So if, as beings of light, we remember who we are, then we have this beautiful invitation and responsibility to, put the beauty and the love into the ether, to be the voice of love and kindness. We are that sort of lighthouse to the ships that are in a storm, right? And we can be the beacon, and we can calm the morphic field. We can calm the bitterness. And we meet at the lake. We meet at the lake, and we look at each other, and we speak softly from our heart, without judgment, without bitterness, leaving our vulnerable selves wide open, because, the one cannot be hurt. The one cannot be hurt. So, for your Wednesday, I hope you walk softly, talk softly. I hope your heart sings today. And and know you're not alone. So, 1, 2, 3. Oh my God, I love myself. I love you. Have a blessed day. I'll see you tomorrow.